Hi, this is Pam Menaker from Clifford Law Offices. And we are holding a press conference this morning in Chicago at Clifford Law Offices. And I'm introducing, in the center is Joseph Murphy, partner at Clifford Law Offices. And he will take it from here and introduce family. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for being here. As Pam pointed out, my name is Joseph Murphy. I'm a partner at Clifford Law Offices, and today marks the beginning of the accountability process that is directed at the Secret Service for the actions that they took on May 23rd of this year. Before I get into my introductions, I want to point out something that might seem very obvious, but needs to be pointed out. The United States Secret Service is a highly trained and highly effective organization. But with that being said, they are trained to identify and neutralize targets without hurting or injuring civilians. And they are trained to anticipate and expect the unexpected. And unfortunately, they fell well short of their training on May 23rd of this year, when they injured Benjamin Del Real, who's sitting to my right here. And I'll get into the facts and circumstances of what occurred, and I'll get into my introduction in just a moment. But I want to point out that today Clifford Law Offices filed a claim under the Federal Tort Claims Act, alleging negligence against the Secret Service for their shooting of Mr. Del Real. So to the right of me is Benjamin Del Real. He's 25 years old. He's United States Army Private First Class, and he is stationed in North Carolina. And he's been doing that for almost 2 years now. To the left of me is his sister, who's here for moral support. She's Sarah Del Real, and she works for a nonprofit in Washington, D.C. Now, I want to get into a little bit of what happened, and after I talk about what occurred on May 23rd, the clients here are going to make a brief statement, and then we're going to be opening up for some questions. So on May 23rd of 2026, Benjamin Del Real Jr., along with his father, were visiting Sarah in D.C. and doing a sort of patriotic tour. It was Memorial Day weekend, and they arrived and went to breakfast that morning. It was a Saturday, and went to the National Archives to view the Constitution. Wound up going to Arlington National Cemetery, where they paid respects to the fallen soldiers, sailors, and Marines. And around 6 p.m. Went to, or had every intention, I should say, of going to the White House to take some photos before going to dinner. And while walking east on Pennsylvania Avenue, if you'll direct your attention over here to this board, just so for a visual sake here, Sarah, Ben, and their father were walking east on Pennsylvania Avenue, heading toward the White House. You can see here, the White House is over here, and their intention was to take photos. Right around here, and if you look a little bit closer on this exhibit over here, which zooms in that P area, right by the parking garage area, Benjamin noticed that an individual took out a gun and started firing toward a Secret Service outpost. And I want to point out a couple things that are important. The Secret Service outpost was all the way across the street here. The shooter was near the corner, and Ben, Sarah, and their father are all the way back here, about 20 yards away or so from the shooter. The shooter was able to get off a few rounds before the Secret Service returned fire, and a hail of gunfire killed the shooter, and unfortunately shot Ben in the abdomen as well. As soon as Ben identified the shooter, the three took cover, but immediately before that, Ben was able to take his father to the ground and drag him by his sweater heroically behind this concrete barrier right here, saving his father's life. But unfortunately, he was shot in the abdomen and had life-threatening injuries. Now, I pointed out several times already that the Secret Service shot Ben. How do we know that? Two reasons. Number one is we have a very reliable and confidential source that tells us who saw the CCTV footage of this incident, who says in no uncertain terms that the Secret Service shot Ben. It's clear as day. Secondly, we don't really even need that because the shooter's back was turned to Ben the entire time. So he couldn't have possibly shot Ben. So it was definitely the Secret Service in this instance. So as a result of the shooting, Ben, as I pointed out, sustained life-threatening and critically life-altering injuries. He was shot in the abdomen. He was taken by EMS to George Washington Hospital, where doctors performed emergency and life-saving surgery. Fortunately for the physicians and fortunately for Ben, they were able to save his life. Unfortunately for Ben, though, they had to remove parts of his organs, including part of his colon and part of his small intestine, which he obviously has dealing with issues to this day. He had a second surgery several days later to remove the bullet, and he has a third surgery scheduled in the coming weeks as well. And he had an infection to go along with all that. Since May 23rd of 2026, he's been rehabbing up until today. He's been rehabilitating and trying to get his health back. But he, make no mistake about it, faces a very uncertain future in terms of his health, in terms of his career, and in terms of how he's going to be doing for the rest of his life. So why are we filing? We're seeking two different things here for the Secret Service. We want answers and we want accountability. So number one is accountability. As I pointed out in the beginning, with elite training comes an equally high level of responsibility to protect the public. Again, this isn't some random law enforcement agency. The Secret Service are specifically and highly trained to identify and neutralize targets that are, by definition of their training, unexpected targets. Unexpected. And they need to do so with surgical precision to eliminate those targets without hurting members of the public. Ben was around 20 yards away, like I pointed out. It wasn't as if he was next to the shooter. He wasn't a couple feet away from the shooter. He wasn't 5 feet away from the shooter. He was, at least around 20 yards away. Like we pointed out, if you look over here, the shooter toward the corner, and Ben, Sarah, and their father way back here. So certainly the Secret Service should have taken that into consideration and been more precise and been more surgical in their taking down of the shooter. And instead, Ben was caught within a hail of gunfire, which fortunately, no one else was hurt, but there were bullet holes all over the place. It's just very unfortunate. Secondly, and beyond the accountability factor, we're looking for answers. So I'm just reading off here. We've sent FOIA letters to the Secret Service. We've sent emails. We've called. We've sent investigators to the Secret Service. And the answers that were left is we're still investigating, and it's been 2 months. Our source tells us the CCTV footage is clear, that they know that the Secret Service shot him. And the shooter's back was turned the entire time. So we don't even have a single answer from them yet as to, hey, it was our fault. We haven't even gotten that yet. All we have is, we don't know, we'll let you know at some point. It could be 6 months from now, it could be 10 months from now, it could be a year from now. And we think that the Del Reals and the public deserve accountability and answers in this situation. I want to point out one other thing as well, that all three of us here in the Del Real family have respect for the agents and for the Secret Service. We do. But anyone in the government and anyone at all can make mistakes, and when mistakes are made, they need to be held accountable for them. And that's why we're here today. The last thing I want to point out before I turn it over to Ben and Sarah is that, as I pointed out in the very beginning, Ben is a private first class in the United States Army, and the Army has been extremely helpful and extremely supportive. I'm a former U.S. Army captain myself for 9 years, and we have nothing but respect for the Army and for what they've done for Ben and his family. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Ben. He's going to read a brief statement. Then after that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, and she's going to read her statement, and then we can open up for some questions.
My name is Benjamin Del Real Jr. I was involved in a shooting near the White House on May 23rd alongside my sister and my father. This incident occurred while walking on Pennsylvania Avenue heading to dinner when an assailant opened fire on the Secret Service in front of us. I was struck during this engagement on the right side of my abdomen and tore my ACL. I was rushed to George Washington University Hospital, where I underwent immediate surgery for a gunshot wound and subsequently a second surgery on May 25th. I was discharged on June 1st and brought to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center for follow-up care. I'm a U.S. Army soldier stationed in North Carolina. I'm currently rehabilitating and waiting for my third surgery that will take place August 11th at Walter Reed. The degree of uncertainty that accompanies being seriously wounded presents its own unique challenges because the road to recovery will be long and strenuous. However, I'd like to thank the U.S. Army for allocating the time and care in helping in hopes that I will return to duty someday and continue serving the nation.
Thank you, Ben. And now Sarah's going to read a statement of her own.
My name is Sarah Del Real, and I am Ben's sister. I am incredibly proud of my brother for serving in the United States Army. He loves his job, he loves his country. So do I. That is why it was so heartbreaking on May 23rd to watch him nearly die after being struck by a gunshot at the hands of those entrusted to protect the public from harm. We had been excited to visit our nation's capital, see its historic landmarks, and enjoy our time together. We never imagined that an ordinary evening with our family would end with Ben fighting for his life and saving our father from the same fate. I am grateful beyond words that Ben survived what could have been the last moments of his life. But our family deserves answers. We are here today asking for accountability. We need to know exactly what happened, and we believe those responsible for shooting my brother should be held accountable. The men and women entrusted with protecting the public carry an enormous responsibility. We hope this tragedy leads to greater accountability and helps prevent something like this from ever happening to another innocent family. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. All right.
Ben, could you talk a little bit just about what the recovery process has been like for you, how much your surgeries and medical treatments have cost? And then, Sarah, could you just talk a little bit about the moments when the shooting happened and when you found Ben's injury?
We have a question actually from a reporter here who's asking, I'll just repeat it for the Zoom if that's okay, that, because I don't know, you don't have a microphone. She's asking Ben, you asked him about
Yeah, I was asking just if you could talk about the recovery process.
the recovery process of his.
Surgeries you've been through, how much they cost. And then Sarah, if you could talk about the moments.
And Sarah about the moments afterward. So Ben, if you want to go first and answer that question, please.
Yeah, absolutely. As for the cost, I'm unfamiliar. I haven't seen the figure, but what I am familiar with is the recovery process, and that's been difficult in the sense that, I've had part of my digestive system removed, and the implications of that are still uncertain at this time. So I've just been rehabilitating, and the command has done a great job at being able to facilitate the time to be able to do so.
Yeah, and as for how that moment felt, it's a tricky question to answer because truly it was a nightmare realized. You never invite your family to visit you in a new city to explore and expect it to end the way that it did. My father, and Benjamin all feared for our lives, And the moment that I saw Ben bleeding was undoubtedly the scariest moment of my life.
Okay, we have a number of people on the Zoom call, media people. We have a question from Stars and Stripes, who's on also. And Ben, they want to ask you if you are concerned about your ability to continue your Army career.
I'm without a doubt concerned. I enlisted a year and a half ago, and it's been one of the greatest journeys that I've taken thus far in my life, and I'm concerned with the ability to be able to perform the job that I signed up to do at this time.
And how long have you been a part of the U.S. Army, another media person?
A year and a half.
Excuse me?
1 year
A
and
year
6
and a
months,
half.
yes.
Okay. And in Kansas, I understand you're originally from Salina, Kansas?
Correct.
Your family? Okay. And they're asking then, Joe, if you could address this, about a copy of the lawsuit. So if you could explain exactly what was filed today, the notice of claim, and how that works under the Federal Tort Claims Act.
Right, yeah. So in order to sue the federal government, you first need to go through the Federal Tort Claims Act. You can't just outright file the lawsuit. It gives the government an opportunity to respond to it, to admit it or deny it, and they have 6 months to do that. If nothing occurs, we wind up in federal court, and that'll be in Washington, D.C., or it's possible that the lawsuit, or excuse me, the claim resolves before then, and that's how that works.
We have somebody also asking, Joe, if you've had any contact with the Secret Service since the injury.
Yeah, I have. And as I pointed out, we've reached out to the Secret Service. I've been in contact with lawyers over there. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten any real definitive or substantive answers at all in terms of what occurred. So it's part of the reason why we're frustrated here and we're seeking more answers is we have given them 2 months. I think we've been reasonable. I think it's pretty obvious what occurred here. And we think that we need more answers and more information.
And then from a Kansas City station is asking, what is the hopeful outcome of, they're saying of the lawsuit, but ultimately of this procedure and litigation?
Yeah, number one is we want to recover on behalf of our client, obviously. Number two is we want to, and perhaps paramount to this, is we want to ensure this never happens again. So I don't want to get into what's happened over the last few years, but the Secret Service doesn't have the most incredible track record recently, and we need to make sure that something like this doesn't ever happen again. As I pointed out, Ben, Sarah, and their father were 20 or so yards away from the shooter. If the Secret Service is that highly trained, they need to be more surgical in responding to a threat which is unidentified, but to them should be something that's anticipated. So enough of this needs to stop at some point, and we hope to stop it now.
We have another question here.
Can you describe what was seen on the CCTV footage that you obtained?
So I want to be clear, we didn't obtain CCTV footage. We have a source who has seen the CCTV footage and shows in no uncertain terms that Ben was shot by the Secret Service. So again, another reason why we're here is we would absolutely love if the Secret Service or the investigating authorities would hand over that to us so Ben and Sarah could see exactly what occurred.
Then we have another question here. I don't know, Ben, if you know this but they want to know the cost of your total medical bills. I mean, I don't know if there's an answer to that, Joe, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have an
an
answer at this point. I mean, he's gone through 2 surgeries already and spent 9 days in the hospital. I'd imagine they'd approach around $1 million, but that would be a total guess on my part. So we'll find that out, and once we do find that out, we'll provide that information. Could be a lot more even.
Well, because his care is still ongoing.
Care is ongoing. Yeah, this is just what he's already incurred. He still has another surgery. He still has rehabilitation. He's a young man. He's 25 years old. He's had part of his digestive system taken out. It's not going to get any better from here.
Just waiting, there's another question coming in here. Okay, I think we can wrap it up now, that's it. Thank you very much. That's all the questions we have, unless the reporter here, are you okay? Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. You can all please exit now. Thank you very much.